Welcome, everyone, to the Walk with Faith podcast. Please welcome Ron Townsend, CEO and creator of Qsls Engineering, and Ryan Kaustinen. I'll be discussing something really beautiful, a beautiful blessing with them today. I am going to have you mostly speak, Ron, though, because I would like you to discuss what you've created with you, the Most High, in your solitude with Him, and this beautiful blessing that has come about with the viewers, please. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Doing good. Ryan, how are you?
Okay.
I'm doing good. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here.
So, I guess I'll just jump into it. So, I spent about 50 years in engineering, and about 2018, 2019, I left General Dynamics engineering work and began kind of consulting to the Army aviation research. And basically the question that had been posed was, how do you measure systems architecture? So this is an engineering area. Basically, the problem is that the Army and the military, and actually almost any engineering company that's going to develop a new product, they first have to analyze the architecture structure of what they want to develop, because that allows it to give them information about how to connect that product to other areas, to customers, to whatever, and also lay down the basic structure of how the product is to be developed. So architecture has become more and more a very important thing. And think of it, this is the same position as a skilled building architect. Their first job is to figure out, what will the building look like? What does it look like? How is it positioned in a lot? All of those features that have to be decided upon before you can ever get into building. The problem is there is no way of measuring it. Up till recently, there has been no way of measuring the quality of that architectural design, how well that architectural design fits for purpose of what the intent is that the product is to be developed. All they can do is kind of put together thoughts. Everybody kind of says, yeah, that kind of looks what we need. And if there's 5 people competing, then it's cost is pretty much the only controlling factor, because you can't judge really very well, one guy's ideas over another guy's ideas. And especially for the military that are building very specific systems, this is a very tough position to be in. So I worked on this idea supporting the Army as an engineer up until January of this year, 2024. And we had made some progress, but never really figured out how to do it. But we were tackling it as an engineering problem, because we were all engineers and scientists, so you focused on it as an engineering problem. Mm-hmm. Well, the decision was made to kind of terminate that work, walk away from it, hand it over to the universities, see if they can make some progress, and kind of stop focusing on it from that point of view. So, as a consultant, that kind of left me out in the cold. By about April, 3 to 4 months later, I personally decided I needed to solve the problem. And to do that, I needed to start from the beginning, which is historically how I tackle problems. I start from the very basic understanding of what's going on and try and rebuild and build from there. When I did that, I suddenly took a different philosophy to what was going on, because I had been working with artificial intelligence up to that point, mostly dealing with the book writings that I do for my science fiction and historical fiction book writings. But I realized that artificial intelligence had some unique capabilities dealing with language. And what I suddenly realized was engineering is really, especially in the architecture and the design phases, is really all about language and being able to analyze things in terms of language, because all we're really doing is we're using language to describe the concepts that we want to deal with. Well, when I did that, when I suddenly realized that, I could now run correlations between different concepts and get a value out. Because AI, that's the basics of how AI works. It allows you to take two words, two phrases, whatever, and it will actually give you a number between 0 and 1 of how well those phrases and terms relate to each other. So, go ahead.
No.
Do you want?
I was just agreeing.
Okay. So once I did that, once I realized that particular problem or solution, I was now able to begin to put together all the various terms and relationships and understandings that go on inside of architecture and design, and even ultimately what I call pre-implementation, which is the phase just before you actually write the final code or you build the final piece of hardware. Because it's all terms. There are thousands and thousands of different terms that are used. But because I have the ability to use AI, which has a vast knowledge in these areas, I was able to start building up tables and tables of all these various terms. And then I kind of called on my history in terms of what I had done over the past 50 years. In the early 70s, I was working in underwater acoustics. And I was working for a very famous doctorate in acoustics at the time. And he was using something called sparse matrix math because of what we were doing. There were lots of elements in the acoustic receivers that were missing. And so that created a special case for matrix analysis, which allowed him to calculate certain things. In the later 90s, in the early 1990s, I worked with a very unique sound propagation model called parabolic equation solution, which solves the how sound propagates through various mediums. And by using both the sparse matrix math and the math that was used in the parabolic equation solution, tied with the ability of AI to give me these correlation values, I was suddenly now able to take the very basic structure, which is what the architects work with, which are called mechanisms, which describe the various things that they're trying to put together to make up a system. And I could translate that through to actually calculating out values for things like characteristics of the system. And from characteristics of the system, I could calculate out qualities of the system and get numbers for these things. And this is the first time it was ever able to be done. And from there, we can actually calculate out what we call business drivers. How well do certain business drivers, are they supported by this design of the system? The only thing that the architect's doing is describing the system in terms of what he has, and the rest of the calculations all flow from there. And this makes it very unique because there is no bias brought into it. So before, when we were building a system, the architect would say, I really think I need to build it this way, and because I've done it before and that had pretty good quality, and so if I trust what I did before, I can do it again. But if you had 4 or 5 different architects all working on the same problem, each of them had a different perspective of how to do this. But you had no way of measuring what was better. Now we actually can measure what is better. We can actually say, if you include this, you'll get a better solution than if you include, something else. And we can actually measure the differences between what people are including into their systems. So from that, I've actually been able to file a patent. The patent was filed last week. And from that point, we are now forming up a company. We're looking for investors to get the company off the ground. That's the first phase. We're also then going to be promoting with major software tool vendors already in the marketplace, because they already kind of, quote, own the customers that they have. And so we can market the technology to them, and they in turn can integrate the technology into their tools and provide it to the final end customer. At this phase, we're not looking to really support the end customer. We're much more interested in supporting tool vendors and giving them more capability to sell to their customers.
Okay.
So that's one path of the company. Another path of the company might be, a large corporation that really wants to, quote, own the technology, and we'll negotiate with them to potentially just sell them the technology and let them deal with all of the engineering and sales and marketing that has to go on from there on.
What type of companies would be interested in this technology for people like me who don't really understand?
So companies, so obviously any of the engineering work that goes, so this tool is actually useful from 2 different sides. One is what they call the stakeholders. So these are the people that are asking to have something built. And in some cases, it could be the government, anything from Defense Department, all the various areas of Defense Department that's looking to build new systems for, all their aircraft, ships, and satellites and everything. So they would be the stakeholders, because they want to understand how well the people that they're negotiating with to build are giving them in terms of offering them designs, and also being able to monitor what's going on with their work as they actually start building. The other would be the companies that are building it.
Like who?
So that would be anything from a Lockheed Martin to a Raytheon to a little company that's making a part for Raytheon, or anybody that's involved in the field of engineering, literally, can make use of this tool.
Okay.
And the idea is that if I want to build a part for Lockheed Martin, for example, to go into a bigger system, I want to use the tool to help pitch to Lockheed Martin that I really understand. I understand exactly what this capability is, and I can offer you this quality and this, all of these various options. And I can do it with numbers, not just hand waving, pretty pictures, but I can give you solid numbers. So this is what they call data-driven engineering work.
There you go.
And that's a unique technology that's beginning to evolve in various areas as we look at different things. But this is the first time it's been able to be applied in this way.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's a very broad market that's looking at this, but it's engineering focused. So everything from the companies that are building things to the people that are asking for things to be built.
What security features does it have? I think you had mentioned something about security or something like that.
So at this point, I've developed a basic tool that I can demonstrate to people and so forth. I've built a little bit into it, so if I hand it over to somebody, it only runs for 30 days before it shuts itself off. There is actually within the patents that we've applied for, we will be able to add in things like blockchain, which is a security way of protecting information, and another thing called NTS, which are unique identifiers to show that this particular thing is very unique, and that has a whole set of different ramifications.
Okay.
These are all, but at the moment, there's not much security. There's a little bit, but I'm looking at the initial funding to help us start building the tools and actually working with these large tool manufacturers to get the technology into their tools where they already have a lot of the security built in for what they're doing.
Okay, I have an interesting question for you. You say that you're looking for startup money to build this company.
Yes.
But then you're saying that if somebody wanted to purchase the technology, right?
Right.
Yes. You're open to either.
I'm open to either. Obviously, I'm 74. I'll be 75 next month. It's hard. It's a 5-year journey to actually build a company, and one of that would be of significant size like this potentially could be. It's a hard job. It takes a lot of work. So either we get the investors and we get money to be able to bring in the right people to build that company,
mm-hmm.
because or B, we just simply sell the technology off with the ability to gain from whatever sales that they generate from using the technology.
Okay.
Either path is acceptable to me.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
How does this technology benefit the planet? And how is it going to assist?
Right. So the technology actually supports the more efficient development of technology, if you would, and because we could very easily ask it to look at various things like how much energy is wasted, or how does it support energy efficiency? That would be the better question for artificial intelligence point of view. So we could ask it, given this design, does this give us better energy efficiency? Which obviously is important, because the less energy you use, the better it is for the planet. So there are lots of different ways that this can go. but ultimately it gives us major efficiency. Now, one of the key elements of the tool that I've designed at this point is artificial intelligence actually takes a significant amount of energy to run. Massive computer centers, all those types of things. But this only uses that to calculate basic matrices which go into storage. After those matrices are built, it doesn't require artificial intelligence to run it. And so therefore it's much more energy efficient from that point of view. Okay. So it doesn't require that you're constantly running artificial intelligence to make these calculations. The calculations are all done relatively straightforward. They can be run on a personal computer. They don't have to be run on a supercomputer. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Very, very interesting. Thank you for sharing this. Is there anything else that you want to share with people? Your contact information. Is there a way that people can reach you, whether it be just a personal email in the meantime till you have, or a website, like something so they can reach out to you? So like, let's say somebody did see this and they want to get in contact with you.
And so the email address is ronald.townsen, TOWNSEN, no D, at qslsengineering.com.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because that is very important. All right, thank you, Ron, so much. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah. Even though he's been sitting here just listening. Ryan, do you have anything that you'd like to say?
No, I mean, as I was reading the patent too, I saw a lot of interesting stuff, like how it's going to be able to basically change depending on your location or your language and everything like that. Can you talk more about that? I know we're towards the end, but...
Sure. So, and this is kind of an interesting question because there are lots of different languages. So there's the languages, English, Japanese, those types of things. This tool will work in all of those because all we have to do is translate the words themselves to the different languages, which is relatively easy to do. But there's also languages in terms of computer languages. And this actually, the way this is done, this actually supports and analyzes the ability to use different computer languages when you're developing systems. There are different languages for different purposes. They all have different effects on development. So, for example, if you're using Ada, which is a Unix language, it has a lot of safety qualities built into it. It's designed for safety purposes. And so comparing that against building something in standard C or C++ or Java or any of the other languages we're using, there are different effects in terms of qualities, and also that in turn affects what the customer's going to get. So this package understands those, and the calculations absorb those variations across all different types of languages, computer languages, even language, human languages, I guess is a way of putting it. The tool will can adjust and absorb and see the differences between those various things.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. I saw another thing too is, I don't know if it was just me, but when I was reading it, it seemed like it was, trying to incorporate, it was talking about not only like neurons of like, just example, like the human brain, but also incorporating that with components of a computer, it was like it was all merging into one.
Well, so artificial intelligence is built upon the idea that there are computer versions of the human brain, I guess it is, the neurons in your brain. And that's basically how it works. And I actually worked on what they call neural networks back in the 1990s. And that's really what artificial intelligence is built upon, are these neural networks that weight various things. And that comes back to the basics of what I'm doing. It's weighting and judging and calculating weight factors between various things. And typically in terms of natural language processing, for example. So yes, that it's definitely incorporated. One of the unique features that we're actually potentially we don't have it at the moment, but we are building is, at the moment, the engineers would say, okay, I'm going to use these 6 things, and that's what I'm building my system from. And I can run the calculation and show them what those effects are. However, in the very near future, and we're not too far away from that, and it's already kind of pre-built into the tools that I'm building right now, we can take another tool, which is going to use AI at that point, and we're going to analyze the actual coding, the actual requirements, and the actual hardware specifications and documents that they have, and feed that into the calculation at the front end. So right now, where the architect kind of says, well, I think this particular thing is going to be used, and it's probably about 0.9 of importance to the overall system. That 0.9 will then will actually be able to judge that directly from the documents and the design work that they're actually doing, so that we kind of even take that estimate out of the hand of the architect, and we actually can measure what's actually going on. So that's kind of the next step to go forward from where I'm at the moment.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, this is going to, be a huge shock to the engineering world right here. And I know you were talking about that too, is that is going to, some might be difficult for people to accept, but at the same time, it's going to make that whole space just larger in a really positive manner.
We want shocks to happen. We want system shakeups. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Right, and this is more of a shakeup than a shock. They'll still keep doing their design work the same way they did before. They'll still keep coding and drawing and doing all that stuff the same way they did before. We're now adding another dimension, though, to analyzing what's going on. And we actually from this technology, I built a methodology which allows us to analyze it at each level as things are happening, and making sure that everything is staying consistent with what the original architecture approach was. And if they exceed those excursions, or if they exceed those boundaries of what the architect had laid out, it can be analyzed up the chain to make sure that either A, the architect agrees that this excursion needs to take place, and therefore we can work with the customers to understand exactly what that means to them, or tell them that they got to reanalyze and reapproach the problem so that they stay within bounds. So this has a much more controlling, this is a much more total encompassment of the complete engineering approach that's going on. But at the same time, it still allows them to do what they've always done in terms of actual, coding and design work and all of those types of things. So it gives them the freedom that they've already got now, but it gives us a lot more information, a lot more control, and a lot more feedback to, the customers, the architects themselves, so everyone knows exactly what's happening and making sure that everybody is doing exactly what we need to get done to build the system, which will actually make system development happen much faster.
That sounds wonderful.
So,
Very, very exciting.
yeah, it has every indication of being a unique and powerful new tool for engineering work.
Well, it is unique because you have a patent on it. It's never been done before.
Right, it's never been done before.
You've proven
we don't
it.
have the patent yet. We don't have the patent yet, but we do.
It's
do
pending.
Have the patent pending.
It's pending,
Yeah.
and it's a brand new a creation that you've accomplished. So,
Yes.
congratulations. Very.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for sharing your information. And we're going to share this to our podcast and get this out there for people. So that way, people are aware of this new, this
Journey.
this creation that you have done, this accomplishment and this beautiful journey. Yeah, this is new for the entire world. So, yeah, I'm excited for you. So, thank you for sharing this.
I appreciate you having me on.
You're welcome. All right, guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time. Sending you so much love and gratitude. You have Ron's email. If anyone would like to reach out, if anyone is interested in this, is in the industry or is familiar with this, please contact him. And we are always sending you so much love. We always pray that you're surrounded by the Most High God's love, protection, and blessings. Thanks, guys. Bye.